Let's be honest with ourselves. Baby Monster is not where they should be right now. They are nearly 3 years into their career. They have put out multiple projects, more albums than Blackpink even. They have done tours, and yet there is still a serious debate about whether they are even in the top three of their generation, and they're still fighting for relevance in 2026. Something has gone very wrong, and I want to go through exactly what could have happened from the very beginning. Before Baby Monsters debuted, expectations were extremely high. YG Entertainment had not debuted a girl group since 2016. They completely skipped the fourth generation. Every other major company was putting out new girl groups during that period, and YG just didn't. So by the time they announced Baby Monster was coming, everyone was hyped. This was the first YG girl group since Blackpink. That alone made people pay attention. Then they ran a reality show called Last Evaluation, and this gave fans months of content watching the trainees compete and show what they could do before the group even had a name on any streaming platform. Members started going viral before debut. So you have the big three company name, the build-up, a fan base already in place, you have global media coverage. By the time November 2023 arrived, the expectations were sky high. November 27th, 2023, Batter Up drops. Right from their debut, there was already issues. The group released their debut song as 6 members instead of 7. Ahyun, who was the most anticipated and controversial member, was absent. She went on hiatus due to health reasons and did not debut with the group. She was in a controversy before this, so some people thought she might have been removed from the group due to that, but that wasn't the case at all. The decision is perplexing because if they didn't plan to remove her, why debut a group with a member on hiatus? And from a big three company at that. That was already a strange way to start things. Like, did they have to debut that bad? Considering this is the first impression we're gonna have of the group, I don't think having a member absent is really the way to go if they were so sure of her coming back. That aside, Batter Up the song itself had tons of issues. It sounded like a Blackpink reject. The production and the whole vibe of the song felt like something that came from the YG vault rather than something made for a new group. The outfits, the choreography, and the overall concept all felt like a continuation of what YG had already been doing rather than something new. They also weirdly decided not to promote on music shows and instead release special stages on their channel. Another weird decision because shouldn't you try to be pushing your groups towards the Korean public? I feel like this is also one of the reasons why Baby Monster is struggling on Korean charts. Like, they didn't really have a good first impression to everybody. YG probably expected a successful debut and wanted them to go on mysterious hiatuses and absences like Blackpink, but Batter Up wasn't well received and they most likely had to change their strategy. Which brings me to an unpopular opinion about Baby Monster. There are too many members and it's affected their popularity. Baby Monster has always struck me as a group where the size works against the concept a little. There are successful K-pop groups with many members, of course. The argument is that for the specific concept Baby Monster was supposed to embody, the girl crush badass image, 7 members actively works against them. When you are selling, we are dangerous and confident and you should be intimidated by us, you need the audience to be able to lock in on specific individuals and feel that from them. The concept works best when the group is small enough that each member gets enough screen time, enough choreography space, and enough individual presence for their personality to shine. 7 people, or mostly 6 in their case, in a music video, moving in formations means everyone gets a slice of the camera instead of any one person getting enough to make an impression. It's like the opposite of the bright or cute concept, where it works better with bigger groups. that concept benefits from numbers because the extra numbers add to the fun and energy. More people being cute and energetic reads as more fun and overwhelming in a good way. But more people being bad and fierce tends to read as a crowd rather than the force they want it to be. Too many members can make it harder for any one person to stand out. I looked at some of the most popular groups doing the girl crush badass image concept and noticed a pattern of them having less members than the typical K-pop groups and having almost all members be known or at least individually identifiable. 21, Blackpink, FX, aespa, Idol are examples of some of the most popular K-pop girl groups in this whole space and concept. Notice how they tend to be smaller in size, and every member is identifiable outside the group, like we can recognize their faces. Baby Monster's problem is not only that the group is large, it is that the lineup has never felt consistently settled in the public eye. They first debuted as 6 members without Ahyun, then later became 7 once she returned. And with Rami's long hiatus, they have spent long periods promoting as 6 again. That means the group has promoted as 6 more often than they have as the full 7-member team. That kind of inconsistency matters because it makes it harder for casual listeners to build a clear mental image of the group. Instead of one fixed lineup that the public can get used to, Baby Monster has felt like a moving target. That makes the group harder to remember and harder to differentiate. Even when a member does stand out, the audience is not always seeing the same version of the group long enough for those impressions to stick. How many of the 7 Baby Monster members can the public identify outside the group? After nearly 3 years, the answer is still basically 1, maybe. The clearest symptom of Baby Monster's issue is member recognition. Ask someone outside the fandom to name or identify a Baby Monster member. The most common answer is Ahyun. Occasionally, Chiquita gets mentioned because of the attention she received before debut. Beyond that, most non-fans struggle to name anyone else. For a group from a major company, I think that is a problem, and also one of the main reasons why a lot of these groups aren't that relevant, because people know the group name and songs, but they can't spot or identify individual members outside that group name. K-pop groups do not just compete through songs, they compete through personalities. The strongest groups create multiple members that the public can immediately identify, even if they do not actively follow the group. Part of Baby Monster's challenge is that the group's image does not leave much room for individual distinction. When everyone is expected to project the same confident, fierce energy, it becomes harder for members to develop clearly recognizable public identities. The performances feel cohesive, but they do not always highlight what makes each member unique enough to stand out. Promotion has also played a role. Some members have received significantly more attention than the others, whether through screen time, memorable moments, or marketing focus. As a result, a few members have established recognizable public profiles, while others remain largely known only within the fandom. The groups with the strongest long-term public presence usually have several members who can be identifiable by non-fans without much effort. Right now, Baby Monster still feels overly dependent on 1 or 2 members carrying that recognition. Ahyun is the one Baby Monster member who has achieved real public recognition outside the fandom. The problem is that a lot of that recognition has been tied to controversy. Before she even debuted, Ahyun was already in controversy. In May 2023, a video surfaced from a school performance where Ahyun rapped the N-word during a Nicki Minaj cover. This happened while she was still a trainee being introduced to the world through the last evaluation series. It was, of course, immediately met with international backlash. Then Ahyun comes back in 2024, debuts officially and becomes the clear center of attention for the group. Center position in videos, more lines, more screen time, more promotional focus. And some fans started noticing that the spotlight felt heavily skewed in her direction. She's known for being the member that oversings and overdances the entire group. She's basically known for overdoing things and making the group look disorganized. That's what she's famous for outside Baby Monster to the non-fans. Her rise to being the most popular member was basically through controversies. I also want to talk about Chiquita. Before Baby Monster debut, YG put significant effort into positioning Chiquita in a specific way. She was the second Thai artist coming out of YG after the most famous Thai YG girl group member, Lisa. It was obvious what they were trying to do with her. She's Thai and the youngest. I wonder who else is Thai and the maknae of their group. They basically wanted to impute another Lisa into the group.
훗날에는 라디사의 선배만큼이나 큰 인기를 끌고 글로벌 영향력을 발휘했으면 좋겠다라는 게 저의 개인적인 희망사항입니다.
The intention was practically stated out loud. Here is the new one. Here is the member who will go viral for dancing and who will have the kind of global appeal that crosses over and who will become the name casual and non-K-pop fans will know. I remember seeing her dance practice video go viral before they debut. But after they actually debut, nobody really cares about her like that. I think what YG intended for her did not happen. She might be a capable performer, sure, but she does not stand out enough in the current setup for the promise YG made about her to have come true. She barely gets talked about outside the Baby Monster fandom. Not even negatively. Like, sometimes negative attention is attention. Wonyoung got this level of fame because of the amount of hate she used to receive, so if you're not even getting talked about negatively, it's kind of like nothing is really going on for you at all. So she didn't really give the Lisa impact that YG probably expected of her. They are trying to market Ahyun as Jennie and Chiquita as Lisa. There's been theories that YG makes Ahyun overdo things for attention. Jennie rose to fame for these type of controversies around Blackpink's early years. So it's not far-fetched to think the company may be manufacturing controversial moments to bring more attention to the group and certain members. And I also want to talk about Rami. Rami, the group's main vocalist, has been on health hiatus since May 2025. That's over a year as at the time I'm making this video. YG announced the hiatus, citing health problems that had been going on for a long time. Problems serious enough that doctors advised her to stop all activities. She missed the Asia leg of the Hello Monsters World Tour, missed the We Go Up mini album, missed the Choom mini album, and has not appeared in the Sugar Honey Iced Tea single either. Like more than a year, and every major release since May 2025 is gone for her. And it has me unsure if she would even join the group again. YG needs to be clear about her status. To be honest, I'm not really a fan of this new era of groups having a whole era without a certain member. What if the group achieves historical record-breaking or career milestones? That member is effectively erased from that chapter of the group's life and career. This is honestly a new K-pop pet peeve of mine because I feel like surely there are ways to incorporate members into a group during their hiatus, like through animations or elements or even shoutouts. I feel like when companies aren't clear about the status of certain members, it forces fans to pry into the personal lives of them to find out more about what is going on. I feel like it just makes people anxious about whether they are actually coming back or not, especially when it's for a very extended period, like over a year is quite a long time. I'm probably going to make a video expanding more on this because I'm really not a fan of this new thing of groups having whole eras without members. So after Batter Up, in early 2024, they put out Stuck in the Middle as a pre-release single before their first mini album, Baby Monster, dropped in April 2024, with Sheesh as the title track. And that was when Ahyun finally joined. Sheesh was probably their most well-received title track. And mind you, well is that the bar is low. Like that, Sheesh was actually quite hated. But out of all the stuff they've released, Sheesh was like basically the best performing title track on charts. Then Forever came out in May 2024. So November 2024 brought their first full album, Drip. Click Clack was the pre-release and Drip was the title track. In 2025, they released Hot Sauce, which was kind of like, they switched things up a bit, but it was still like cringy hip-hop raps. Just the same sound with different visuals. Nothing quite drastic. Then in May 2026, they dropped Shroom, their third mini album. They have released more albums compared to Blackpink within this period. Like there are 2.5 years. Blackpink did not have a full album by this point in their career. Sugar Honey Iced Tea followed as a single in June. I was contemplating doing a review of the singles they released, but I just decided to throw everything into this video because I would have talked about this regardless. Most of their title tracks are mid and the outdated, typical YG formula we've heard countless times before. It's literally just average. That could have been better. You just listen to their songs and feel nothing because of how underwhelming and predictable they are. Firstly, I want to address the sexualization of Baby Monster. I see K-pop stans give other girl groups hate for making the youngest members in the groups partake in mature choreography, but they turn silent when it comes to Baby Monster. Because most of Baby Monster members are barely adults and they have tons of suggestive choreography, especially in their most recent releases. YG Entertainment CEO Yang Hyun-suk is also weirdly invested in Baby Monster for some reason. He participates in their song productions and writing and makes announcements before their comebacks, which shows me he okays their choreography. Mind you, this man met his now wife when she was 13 and he was in his 20s, made her join his company at the age of 16, sabotaged her group so he could use power dynamics to his advantage, and he ended up marrying her. Of course, people are gonna side-eye why he's so involved with this group and okaying these type of choreographies and suggestive lyrics. He already has a very weird track record with members under his company. You can't debut a group with kids and try to give them this type of songs and concepts, because just who are they supposed to appeal to? They are trying so hard to give badass and sexy to the point where it comes out as cringe and weird. YG seems to not be patient enough to wait for all the members to come of age before going the route of sexualizing them to get an audience. And it's interesting how K-pop stans don't care because they are not from a certain company. Why is no one talking about Baby Monster's members giving choreography of them twerking and moving their bodies in suggestive manners? That aside, going through their discography, their entire concept and sound sits in the same similar box. Nothing really changes. Their whole catalog is variations of the same idea. It's the classic YG girl group bad bitch don't mess with us, we are better than you aesthetics. Their concept to me seems like something that's struggling to be badass, but at the same time is failing to achieve that. I think everyone has grown stale and tired of this I'm better than you concept that YG girl groups always give. It's just not something that works anymore. Which brings me to the next segment about the outdated sound. Teddy Park was YG's main producer for a long time. He is the person most responsible for the sonic identity of YG's girl groups and the sound that people think of when they think of that company's music. In 2015, he started the Black Label as a sub-label under YG, and by 2020, the Black Label had spun off and become its own independent company. Teddy now operates primarily through the Black Label, which has its own artists, its own sound, and its own direction. Baby Monster's music is not being made by Teddy. It is being produced by YG's internal team, and the criticism that keeps coming up about their sound is that it sounds like a combination of old YG material put together by people trying to recreate what Teddy was doing. Listen to Chum. I am serious. That chorus, the melody of it, the way the vocals are, it feels like something from a 21 project. And the instrumental feels like a Blackpink instrumental. It's as if someone went into the YG archive that Teddy left behind as he was leaving the company, found the material for both of these groups, and started blending them together to create something for Baby Monster. Baby Monster feels like a compilation of YG's past groups. Sometimes their songs sound like Blackpink Reject. Sometimes it sounds like 21 Reject. And sometimes it sounds like they combine both Blackpink and 21 Rejects into one song. But the K-pop industry has moved significantly since the peak YG girl group era. Production styles have evolved, concepts have diversified, the competition is much more sophisticated. Baby Monster is being made with a template that was created for a different time by a different team for different artists in a different landscape, and we, the audience, can hear it. The most consistent criticism across their entire discography is that it sounds dated. How much longer can YG run on nostalgia and recycled formats? Baby Monster was marketed heavily on the strengths of who came before them. They're a YG girl group. They are the first one since Blackpink. The members were mentored by other YG artists. The whole presentation was designed to use the legacy of YG and their existing girl groups as a career launchpad, and it worked for about 5 minutes. The initial debut numbers and attention were alright, but it has fizzled out considerably. You cannot bank on being the new version of someone else forever. Baby Monster is 3 years in, and a meaningful portion of their public identity is still YG girl group. That should have evolved by now. They should have enough of their own story to stand on. The fact that they're still being framed primarily through the company context rather than through what they themselves have built tells you a lot about their career trajectory. And the crazy thing is that YG is already moving on from them. In May 2025, YG announced they were introducing a new 4-member girl group called Next Monster. The members are being revealed one by one, and apparently they are set to debut next year. Baby Monster debuted in November 2023. They are not even up to 3 years old as a group, and YG is already revealing members for the next girl group. The historical YG girl group model was 7 years between each girl group, 7 years of undivided focus to one act before even beginning the process for the next one. That model created extraordinary results because it meant everything was concentrated and focused in one direction or group. Baby Monster had less than 3 years, and the Next Monsters member are already going public. You can interpret this charitably if you want. Maybe YG wants to expand from their old ways and have multiple active groups at once. Maybe this is a genuine change in strategy and new direction for the company. But I and a lot of people can't help but think that the most obvious answer as to why they're already teasing a group so early is because Baby Monster is not as successful as YG wanted them to be. The second-gen groups of YG are barely active anymore. Blackpink had their worst year recently and aren't even active in the company like that anymore. YG can no longer depend on them. Treasure is treasure, so YG was probably banking on Baby Monster and it didn't really go as they expected, and they're trying to rush a new top girl group. That's what I think. Like, Baby Monster didn't deliver the results they probably expected of them, and they can't keep depending on the current lineup of groups in the company, especially as Blackpink is no longer active or as powerful as before. Baby Monster has not become the generation-defining group YG expected. The mainstream breakthrough has not happened. The records they have broken are exclusive to just one platform, being YouTube, and the numbers are not taken seriously due to how suspiciously high they are compared to everywhere else. Baby Monster struggles to chart on Korean charts. They only last like a day or two on Spotify. Nowhere to be seen on Apple Music, Billboard, or other platforms. The only thing they have going for them is YouTube views and followers. How is it that the millions of people watching their videos aren't translating to other platforms? This is not really a good look for them. If anything, it makes it seem like views from any YG group is not to be taken seriously. Because even if Baby Monster does have a dedicated fandom, the inflated ad views overwhelms and undermines everything else. Now, they're just known as the group with large YouTube views and low likes ratio, and no one cares about any other achievements they could possibly have. It makes it look like the group doesn't have organic growth, but is media play to look bigger than they actually are. They already go through the Blackpink Nepo sister group label and the Big Three privilege, so YG topping it all up with these weird decisions only makes them look worse to the general public. And the crazy thing is, there is really no reason for all this. It's 2026. We all know YouTube is not like it used to. Even big K-pop groups struggle to pull the numbers they once did before. And YouTube doesn't even count for a lot of charts anymore due to how K-pop companies abuse ad views. So I don't get why YG is so hell-bent on this inflated views thing. I don't know if the company thinks we're all stupid. I think if they debut this next Monsters group next year, this will be the first time YG has two active girl groups from the same generation. It's crazy how they skipped the 4th gen for girl groups, entered the 5th gen, and now are gonna have two 5th gen girl groups. Also, this next Monster group has 4 members. Seems like YG is going back to their usual girl group member numbers. And something tells me that this coming YG girl group will be more successful than Baby Monster outside of the inflated YouTube views. I don't know exactly what the future looks like for Baby Monster, but I can say a few things. They need a complete rebrand, and the members are talented enough for a rebrand. The Baby Monster members are also very underutilized when they're making everyone rappers, and most of them barely get to showcase what they're good at. They could have utilized their group name more. Baby Monster has potential for a lot of things. For example, just like how Blackpink had the black and pink side, and Red Velvet had the red and velvet side, Baby Monster could have done the dual concept route, where the baby side is cute or elegant concept with less raps and less loud beats, and more singing and vocal focus, where the vocal line gets to shine more. And the monster side could be the dark, badass side, where the rap line gets to shine more. They can do the badass concept without the YG formula and sound. There isn't really a lot of groups that has the dual concept. So I feel like this will make them have a more unique identity and give certain members more ability to shine. Like the vocal members get to shine in the baby concept, and the rap and dance focus members get to shine in the monsters concept. There's tons of ways that YG could go for them. I feel like everything about this group is being underutilized, from the members' position to their concept. The audience has changed compared to how it was in 2016, and they need to evolve too. The YG name and the Blackpink sister group label is simply not enough to carry this group in the long run. At some point, if enough of those chances pass without something shifting, the conversation stops being about potential and starts being about what the group actually is, which, based on what we have seen so far, is a very talented group of performers being wasted on recycled ideas in a formula that stopped being fresh a long time ago. It could also be possible that they eventually get successful with this concept, but regardless, it's gonna take a while even if that were to happen. But let's see where the future holds for them.